Hello and welcome to today's Bitrix24 training on Bitrix24 Sign. Thank you very much for joining today. Okay, so first of all, let's just go through the overview of today's session. So what we'll be covering today in the Bitrix24 Sign training. So first of all, what we'll do is we'll just introduce ourselves, just give you a bit of a background to Interface and the team here. We'll then take a look at actually what is Bitrix24 Sign, and we'll just have a quick overview as to what functionality within the Bitrix24 Sign module is available on the different editions of Bitrix24. And then we'll go in to see how we can set up the Bitrix24 Sign module. And then we'll take a look at the process of using a template document, mapping information for signing, and then going through the whole signing process. Now, as we go through today's session, if you have any questions that our team can help you with, if you need answers to any questions, you can drop those comments into the question box, either here on Zoom or we are also live on LinkedIn. So you can ask those questions on either of those channels. Okay, so first of all, let's just go through an introduction. So I'm Sam Connor. I'm going to be running you through the Bitrix24 Sign module today. And we're based in York, New York, and Hong Kong. So we essentially help businesses all over the world with Bitrix24. And that starts off with pre-sale support, so we can help to answer any questions that you have about the Bitrix24 system if you're currently evaluating Bitrix. If you are in the implementation phase, or if maybe you've been using Bitrix for some time but want some customization doing to the system, we specialize in implementing Bitrix so it is designed exactly how you need it to work. If you're interested in the self-hosted edition, so just to explain there are two editions of Bitrix. There is the Bitrix24 Cloud and the Bitrix24 self-hosted solution. We can provide our hosting service for the self-hosted system. And we also then provide bespoke training and an ongoing support to help you get the most value out of the Bitrix24 system. So if you have any questions at all, please do add us, follow us on LinkedIn, follow us on YouTube, and we can answer those questions for you. Okay, so first of all, today, what we'll do is we'll just go through a slight detail here as to what Bitrix24 actually is. Okay, so Bitrix24 Sign, it's quite a new module. So if you're using the Bitrix24 Cloud, it will have been on there for several months now. If you're using a self-hosted edition, hopefully you'll be able to see that now in your system. It is being rolled out across all the self-hosted plans. And essentially, this module allows you to create documents and send them to your counterparty for signature. So there are many other external e-signature features out there which are external to Bitrix24. But what Bitrix24 has done is they have built the functionality so you can send documents for electronic signature directly through the Bitrix24 system. And that's what we'll be focusing on today, is how we can use this module for sending out documents for electronic signature. Now, what we will be doing today is using the cloud edition of Bitrix24 to show you this functionality. But as I say, the module is also available for the self-hosted edition of Bitrix. Now, depending on the version of the cloud system you have, there are some limitations on there. So I just wanted to, first of all, walk you through some of the limitations. So if you're using a free edition, a basic cloud, or a standard cloud system, you're not going to have access to the automation rules inside the Bitrix24 Sign feature. So in a second, I'm going to take you through those and we'll see how those automation processes work. And especially as you're going through the signing process, we can then automatically update what stage the document is at in the signing process. That's really important if you're sending out hundreds of documents throughout the day. For Bitrix to automatically update the stage that the document is at is very, very important, so you can keep track of where the document is at in the signing process. So if you want to have those automation rules, then you need to have at least a professional cloud license. And also, if you want to generate documents in the CRM system and then send those out and pull them into the Sign module for signing, that CRM integration feature, again, is also only available from the professional cloud license. So some of the functionality we'll look at today, you need to have at least a professional cloud system. So if you find the functionality we go through here important, then we can upgrade you to the professional cloud license. Okay, so first of all, then, what we'll take a look at is how we can set up our Bitrix24 Sign module. So there's quite a few different areas inside the Sign module that we need to set up first of all, so we can then start managing our documents through the signing process. So let's go over to our Bitrix24 system and start to take a look at how we can set up our Sign module. Okay, so we've just come over to our Bitrix24 module. So first of all, to be able to access the Sign module, you should be able to see it in the left-hand menu. So you can see here the Bitrix24 Sign, or you could also search inside the universal search area here, and you'll see it pop up inside the menu item. So that's where we can find our Bitrix24 Sign module. So let's go into the signing system. Okay, so within the UI here of the Bitrix24 Sign feature, there are quite a few elements here that you need to set up before you can start sending your documents for signing. So first of all, within the feature here, so what we can do in the Kanban view here, so this is the view here of Kanban, we also have a list view. We need to set up the configuration for both of these views. So first of all, we can see here across the top, these are all of the different documents that we currently have out for signing. What we need to do is create the stages that we are going to take the document through for the signing process. So as we can see, the stages we have set up right here are draft, sent, internally signed, a client question stage, and then the client signed completed stage. So what you need to do in your Sign module is set up the stages that you would walk your document through for the signing process. And to create those stages, it's very simple. You can see here, all you need to do is click on the plus button, and then you can create the stage for your signing process. So you can, inside here, add the terminology for the signing process. Okay, so let's say there we're waiting on the internal signature. So you can add the title, you can change the color of that. So essentially, you can build here your whole signing workflow. So we've got, as we can see here, there are 6 stages to our signing process. You might only want 1 or 2 stages. You might want many stages. You can completely customize how many stages that you progress your documents through. Okay. And if we just click into one of the documents that we are sending for signing here, you can see here the UI very similar to the records within the CRM system, so such as a lead or a deal. And within here, what we can do is we can create custom fields to capture specific information. So it may be, for example, you might want to add a link field, for example. So you might want to link the actual external document into the page here. So you can create custom fields to capture specific information, and then that information is available to be added inside the system here. So for example, here we've got the responsible person internally who is managing the signing of this document. And you can also create additional sections inside the page here to store any relevant information you need. as you're progressing the document through the signing journey. So that's first of all. So we've got our stages set up. We've created the custom fields within the document signing page that we need. Then next within here is the automation rules feature. Now, this is a really powerful feature within the system because as we go through the signing process, when it is being internally signed, and then as this is being viewed by the client and then signed by the client, we can automatically update here what stage the document record is at inside the signing process. So if you are going to be, as you can see in this view here, there are a lot of documents that are out for signing right now. Trying to keep track of that manually is really going to be difficult and it's going to take a lot of time. So it's really critical that you have automation rules so Bitrix can do the heavy lifting of updating what stage the document is at through your signing process. So if we just click on the automation rules button here, what we can do at every single stage of the signing process is we can create automated actions. Okay, so for example, maybe we want to set up an employee notification as we're sending it to the sent stage. So as it's sent out to the internal person within the business for signing, we can set up a notification to be sent out inside the system. And you can see here, you can pull in information about the record. Okay, so I could pull this in here and then type in. And then once I've typed out the notification message, we can choose first of all, the sending person, and then who the recipient is going to be. So it might be a whole department. It might be the person who's going to be responsible internally for signing the document. So there's an example of setting up an internal notification. So at every single stage of your signing process, we can set up automated actions. So as we can see here, once the client has signed the document, so that's the final stage of the signing process, we've got a notification going out to the team here that all parties have signed the document. So it's keeping people up to date as the journey of the documents is progressed through your cycle. Or it could be, for example, you might want to set up some communications that go out to the client who's signing via email, for example. So there's a huge number of different types of automations we can set up as you go through the signing journey. But I think even more powerful than that is within this area here, we can set up triggers. Okay, so you can see here at the top, we have triggers. And to explain what a trigger will do, a trigger will automatically update what stage the document is at through the signing process. Okay, so for example, here where we've got the internally signed stage. So just to explain, with the Bitrix24 Sign feature, there are two signatures that take place on the document. So first of all, the document will go to an internal person, so an internal Bitrix24 person within the organization, within your organization, who will sign the document. Once that internal person within your organization has signed the document, it will then be submitted to the client for signing. So you have an internal and an external record for the signing process. So inside the internally signed area here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a trigger. Okay, so inside here, what I will do is if I search through my triggers, what we're going to do inside here is set up an automation so we can see when the document has been signed by the sending party. So that's the organization, so your internal person. So let's set that in the system here. Okay, so we can see here, we've now set up a trigger. So once the document has been signed by the internal person, the document is going to automatically update to the internally signed stage. So we can see automatically, Bitrix is going to do the heavy lifting here. Every document at that stage we know has been submitted, signed by our internal staff, and is out for the client to sign. So what we could then do is set up a notification. So at this stage, let's say we may want to set up a notification that goes out to our team, but we may say, actually, let's run this automation in 3 days' time. So if the document is still at this stage, then we want to notify the team. Okay, so in 3 days' time, we're going to send this out to the team here, and let's call this 3-day warning notification. Okay. So as soon as the document has been sent, it's going to go to our internal staff to sign. And with this trigger, we're going to automatically update it to the internally signed stage once we have signed it. So we know now it's been sent out to the client for signing. And in 3 days' time, if we're still at this internally signed stage, we're going to be receiving a notification to warn us that this document is still pending the client's signature. So we can then start to fast track and be proactive to engage with the client to get them to sign the contract. So you can see here how we can start to use a mixture of triggers and automations to streamline the whole signing process. And as I mentioned at the start, to have this feature here, to use automation rules, you need to have at least a professional cloud license. So if you are on a basic or a free or a standard cloud, you're not going to be able to access this functionality. And I would say this is really critical to get value out of the Bitrix Sign module. So if you need to upgrade, we'll send our details to you at the end of today's webinar. You can contact our team and we can help you with this. And also, we can help you with the whole setting up here of the automations and the stages. Okay, so we've just had a question come in. So just based on that 3-day warning notification, for example, is the 3-day time related to the start of the current stage, or is it related to when the task creation date? So that's a really good question. So if we just go back into this 3-day message here, what we're doing here is we're running that 3 days after the document has been at this stage. So it's looking at the current stage here. So once it's moved to the internally signed stage, it's then going to be that timer and countdown. So in 3 days after we've been at that specific stage, it's going to run that automation. But what you can do here is you can customize this. So you might actually say we want to run this 3 days after the creation date. So as you just asked in your question, you can customize what the time parameter is going to be. So I'm just going to do it based on the current time at this stage, but we might want to set this based on when it was last updated, for example, if anything's changed on the record, or like I said, it could be when it was created on, for example. So you can customize that. Yeah, so current time is when it hits that specific stage, essentially. So in this example here, 3 days after current time, that means in 3 days, straight from when it has hit the internally signed stage, we're going to be triggering this notification. So it could have been at any of these stages for, let's say, 20 days. It doesn't matter. But once it hits the internally signed stage, in 3 days' time, based on it hitting that stage, we're going to be running that notification. So you can customize these automations really powerfully within the Sign module. Okay, so some really good questions coming in here. So if there are any other questions, please do add them into the question box, either on Zoom or on LinkedIn. We're on both channels right now, so you can ask those questions away. Okay, so we've seen that. So there's quite a lot of areas to set up essentially within the Sign module. So we've gone through the stages. We've looked at the custom fields we need to set up, and then we've just started to look at some of the automations and triggers that we can use as well. But within here as well, so we've got the document records here. So I can see each of the documents that we're progressing through the signing process. We also can customize the UI for every record here as well. So if we go into the cogwheel here in the settings, if we go to the Kanban settings here, I can click in the configure view for form fields. So I can customize here the information I want to see within this Kanban display. So for example, I might want to turn on what date the document was created on. And I might also want to know actually when it was removed or who is the responsible person for that document. So I can turn on and turn off any of those fields that we've created with information inside the system. So if I now save that information, it's going to update these records. So you can see here, I can see the creation date, and I can see who is currently responsible for the documents internally. So I'm getting a lot more information here about those documents. So the UI now looks a lot cleaner. I've got a lot more high-level information about the documents inside the system. And one thing to point out here as well is you've got a filtering tool. So you might want to drill down into some of these documents. So I might want to see, based on, say, responsible person, for example, then I could drill down into here. I might want to see all of Sam's documents that he's responsible for. I can drill down into any of this information. I can save these filters inside the system as well. So you can easily drill down into data. So if you have a lot of documents within the Sign module, we'd really recommend using the filtering tool process here. Okay, so that's how we can configure the Kanban view, but then we also have the list view as well. So if we go into here, this is a very different UI. So I wouldn't say there's one version that's better than the other. Though if you're going to be using triggers and automations, the Kanban view may be more visually appealing for you. But if I just explain inside the list view here, you can configure the UI here. So it's showing exactly the same information, but you can change the layout of the information here. And again, you can turn on and turn off what information you want to show in the front end here of that list view. So those are the options here if you want to use the list view. So those are the two options there for setting up the views for your signing of documents. Okay, so there we've seen how to create stages to progress our documents. We've seen how to set up automation rules, how we can set up triggers to automatically update the status, and then we've seen how we can configure the form fields and also the list view. So what we'll move on to now is actually, let's take a look at how we can send a document for signing. Let's see how we can edit the mappings and then progress the document through the entire signing journey that we have just set up. Okay. So if we move back into our Bitrix24 sign area, so the key area here, when we want to have a new document be sent out to the client for signing, we click on the sign button here. And there's many different examples as to what you may want to send out for signing, but I guess a key one is, for example, a statement of works or a contract that you want the customer to sign to then start to complete the project and move it through the task management stages. So if we click into the sign area here, this now opens up the area where we upload our documents. And there are 3 simple steps to submit the document for signing. First of all, we need to upload the document. So there's different options here. You can upload 3 different types of documents, say from your local computer. So it could be an image, a PDF document, or a Word document. Those are the 3 different types of docs that you can upload for signing. Or if you already have recent templates that you've already been using before, you can upload those and then select that template like so. So those are the different options that we have for uploading the document. And then what we need to do, we need to prepare the document for signing. So this is where the signing process really comes into play. So as I mentioned, when we send out a document through Bitrix24 Sign for signing, there are 2 people who will be signing the document. First of all, you have the sender, okay? So the sender is someone internal in your organization that will be signing the document. So inside here, you can fill in the details that can then be saved inside here for future signing processes. So I can see here, say for interface, so that's our internal team, we have the information for the internal sender there. And then what we need to do is we need to choose the recipient. So the recipient is the end user, it's that client who we want to sign our document. And this then talks with the CRM system, so we can pull in the client's details and records from the system here. So we now have our sender and recipient information saved inside our document for signing. Okay, so that is the second stage. We've selected the template we want to use. We've then added our sender and receiver recipients. Now what we need to do is we need to add our mappings for where we want the document to be signed. So here in this statement of works, we have some areas where we need the document to be signed. So on the right-hand side here, we have the different mappings, the field mappings that we can use for the signing process. And it's broken down into the sender and the recipient. Okay, so first of all, inside here, let's send the sender's details. So we want to add the sender's signature, for example. So that would be our interface person. So we're going to add that into there and save that information. And inside here, you also have common fields. So for example, if you want to insert the date, so that's automatically stamped inside there. I can add that into the system. And then I've got the recipient. So I need to add the recipient's signature box that they're going to sign. And then we can also, again, add the date. So it's very simple to add the relevant mappings that you need to add into the system here. You also have this feature called CRM fields. So essentially, if you have custom fields inside the CRM system, you could pull that information inside the system here. So if you wanted to bring in, say, the person's first name, second name, etc., if that information is already inputted inside your CRM system, you could add that information into the document here, like so. And so then let's add, say, their second name into here as well. So you can customize here the UI of the interface. So if you're wanting to pull information here from the CRM system, we can do that like so. So it's very simple to add any information from the CRM. Okay, so we've got our mappings set up. So let's save that now inside the system. And now we can send this document for signing. Okay, and again, here is another area where you may be limited depending on what edition of Bitrix24 you have. So essentially, if you want to be able to send the signature here, this is being sent via email. You also have the option, if you have set up either SMS or WhatsApp, you could send that via SMS or WhatsApp as well, if you have a professional cloud edition or above. So again, if you're on a basic or a standard cloud or a free, you would only be able to send this document out for signing via email. Okay, so that's just something to bear in mind as well as to how that information is then going to be sent out to the client. So let's now submit this document for signing. Okay, and as I mentioned, this is now going to go to the internal person within your organization first for signing. So as we've sent that document out here, we now have all of the information for the signing process. Okay, so we can see here the client, so Samuel Smith, and we can see the internal person who's responsible for signing on our side. And within here, you can update the document. So let's call this is Samuel Smith's statement of works. And what we might want to do, this is really useful. Within here, you can add your own internal comments. So let's say if I'm just going to notify my colleague, this has now been initiated for signing. So you can keep other members of the team up to date, and all that history is saved inside the system here. And you see a record of this information. So I can see the outgoing email has been sent to the internal person for signing the document. So let's take a look at how this looks on an email for the end user. So let's go into our Bitrix24 system. And on an email here, so we can see via email, we've received this email that we have a document that needs to be signed. And this then opens up that document that needs to be signed. So we have information about the document, and now this needs to be signed. Okay. Now what we do inside here is we first of all have a password control mechanism in place. So essentially it's like a two-factor authentication. So there is a code that will also be sent out to you via the method of signing that you have submitted. So that would be via email. And you will then receive a 4-digit number that you need to add into the box here. So I can see the number 5075. So let's now add that into here. So you're confirming exactly who you are for the signing process. And now I can sign the document. So this is going to be the internal person signing the document. There are 3 different ways the document can be signed. So first of all, we can add our name and initials, and that will then be added into the italic box here. But another way, and probably the most useful way, is a hand signature. So if you have a touchscreen device, you can just touchscreen this, or if you use a mouse, you can sign it like so, or you could upload an image. Okay, so we've now signed that document. So that's now been managed by the internal team. It's been signed by our staff. Okay. And then what we can do is this will then be sent out to the client. And you can see there, this is where the automations really come into power, essentially. You can see automatically now, because the internal person has signed the document, remember earlier on, we set up that trigger, watch for signing by the sender. And that trigger was put into the internally signed stage. So as soon as we've signed that document, it's gone from the draft stage to the internally signed. So you know automatically what stage the document is at in the signing process. If I come out of here, the Samuel Smith's SOW in the Kanban view, it's at the internally signed stage. So I know that this document is now with the client for signing. And again, we can see the automation rule that's been set up here. So in 3 days' time, if we're still at this stage, the client's not signed it, we're going to be sent a notification to make us aware. So that really just shows how powerful the automations and triggers can be. And if, like I say, if you're going to have hundreds of documents in here, you want to be able to trigger that through the system here. So if we just click back into the documents, all of that history is saved in the system. I can see when the internal person signed the documents, okay? And we can see when the timestamp of the change of the stage has taken place. So that was at 3:30 today when it moved to the internally signed stage. So all of the history about your signing process is saved inside the record page here. And then what will happen is it will go to the external person for signing. And it's exactly the same process. So I'm just going to open up this document for the client side for signing. And if we just go back into our page, so if we just see here, so this is as the client, so we're going to go through the signing process here as well. And again, we're going to have a code that we need to fill in here. So it's exactly the same on the client side as well. So you're going to have the exact same authentication process that you need to complete. But if we just come out of here, what will be really interesting to see is when you see back inside the document now, we can see that the client here, that's the email address for the client, they have viewed the document. So we can see that. So every single granular aspect of the signing process will be documented inside this page here. So let's say if I know I'm waiting for the client to sign this, well, let's just check in the page here. Oh, I can see that they've viewed the document. So maybe I just drop them a call, see if they have any questions, etc. So this history within the system is so useful for your teams to be able to view. Okay, so let's now go through the document again. So we can now go through and sign this document. So we have all of our information saved. And so that document is now being completed. And we'll see now the Samuel Smith SOW, because we have a trigger set up on the document, is we can now use those automation rules to automatically update the stage the document is at. Okay, so you can see now, there we go. It's now moved to automatically move to the client sign completed stage because we've signed that document. So there you can see live on that Kanban view, documents automatically moving across the stages using triggers and automations. And so we can see they've signed the document, and we can open up the page for the document here. So then we can see both signatures for the document that have been signed. So we can see both of those inside the system, and you get a certificate of completion. So there is your authorization integrity check to show the document has been signed by both parties. You get the dates, the IP addresses, so you have that history saved inside the system with all of the detail there. And for example, we set up that notification, so I can see now the Samuel Smith document has been signed by all parties. So really, you can see how much we're using automations and triggers throughout this signing process. So I would say it's really critical for you to get value from the sign module. So as I say, you need to be on at least a professional cloud license. One other area to mention for signing is if you are on a professional cloud license or above, if you're on a self-hosted edition, within here, if you're generating documents, okay, what we can also do is when those documents are generated using the document generator tool inside the CRM system, we can also connect this with the sign module. So you can then send these for signing directly through the system. So rather than having to upload the template every single time, inside here, if you're on a professional cloud license, this is the CRM integration piece. So when you generate documents inside the CRM system, you can then automatically send this to the sign module. And again, you can then go through the signing process to have that document signed inside the system here. So I can then send this out for signing. So that's a really useful time-saving feature, integrating the CRM system with the Bitrix24 Sign module as well. Okay, so that is an overview of the signing process using the Bitrix24 Sign module. And that is the end of today's Bitrix24 Sign training. So we've seen how we can set up the Bitrix24 Sign module. We've seen how we can create the stages to essentially create a workflow for the document signing process. We've seen how we can use automations and triggers to streamline the whole document signing process. And I think really importantly, at those critical stages when the document is signed internally and then it's signed by the client, moving it automatically through the correct stage, it will save you so much time and keep you at a high level, very visible as to where we're at in the signing process with the client. And then we've also seen the CRM integration side as well. So we can generate documents, get through the CRM system, and then have that talk with the sign module to have those documents signed. Okay, so we've also had quite a few questions today, which we've gone through and answered. If there are any other questions, there's our address, sales@intraface.com. Please do contact us, and one of our team will be happy to set up a call with you to answer any questions that you have. Okay, but thank you very much for joining us today. We do have webinars every other Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern time, and do look out on our social media and YouTube channels because we will have more content coming, every week, and look out for our next and upcoming training webinars where you'll be able to focus and see specific functionality that we can train you on within Bitrix24. Thank you very much for your time today for the Bitrix24 Sign training. I hope you found that useful, and we look forward to seeing you in the near future.